So, I'm now 77. I'm 77! I'm very proud of this. And when I was 7 years old, I wrote my first play in my little village school in Bray, near Maidenhead. I wrote myself a big fat part in it, performed it at the school, and got my first notices. So I knew then, when I was 7, I knew I'm going to be an actor. Did we have television? I know that later on, when I was quite a little bit moved on, but I was on television, this funny little tall box in the houseboat that we lived at that point, and my mother is saying to my younger brother, come on, because Anneka's going to be on the television. He was little and innocent and said, it's all right, she won't start without me. So sweet. So, from very early on, I was already doing it.
Uh-huh. And before that, had your family always read stories to you, and do you have siblings at all?
One I don't speak to. I don't think he's with us anymore, and the other one's in heaven. So
no.
I'm just a me. There isn't anybody else. Well,
right,
I've got a son, but no, otherwise no.
So it was very much from that writing those plays and wanting to do it yourself.
Well, if I go back down the route, I think it surely was my mother, because she would have been an actress.
Uh-huh.
She wanted to go to drama school. She was in Holland. Sarah Bernhardt, now I say it in my mother's Dutch way, Sarah Bernhardt, had a school, and my mother wanted to go to this acting school, and her parents said, no, you can't be an actress. It was tantamount to being a tart. So you can't do that. And my mother had this, mind you, my mother exaggerated. So she told the story of how this wonderful old actress woman turned up in this carriage in this Dutch street and to come and talk to the grandparents to say, she should come, she's very talented. She couldn't do it. So I think when I'm born, she's saying, you're going to be the actress.
Right,
I couldn't
okay,
be. Could
okay.
be.
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
from a previous generation, perhaps?
Could be.
I read that you used to live on a houseboat as a child as well, which
Yeah.
sounds wonderfully romantic and glamorous. How was that?
Well, it was cheap. That was, after the war, we were all so broke. Everybody was broke. Nobody had any money. You know what I'm absolutely loving to watch? I do this, I'm sorry.
No, please do. No.
Loving to watch Channel 81, Talking Pictures. Oh, it's heaven. And lots of the films that were made then, in those days, just after the war, during the war, they made a lot of very good films during the war. After the war, that's the world that I remember. That's my childhood. That's where I loved to look at it. And where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so we were all broke. So then, and we were always renting houses, and it was all. My mother was mad, so it was all very. We've got to run away and leave this place. Then we got the boat, and we had it on various different moorings. Just the story, and then we had it in this mooring near Bray Studios, and it sank. One day, I'm sitting with my mother, and she says, do you hear something? I think, pull the carpet up. Let's have a look. We pull the carpet, water coming in. She said, oh my God, we're sinking. I'll go and put something on that. I'll go off and get help. So as she goes running down the towpath to say, help, we're sinking, my mother, help. I've put a huge book and a fire extinguisher on this gaping hole, and because it was rotten, it went straight through. Oh. So now the water's coming in, and the people come and start pumping the water out as fast as it was coming in. Meanwhile, through the little windows along, we're throwing everything onto the towpath. And then when it's all done, they said, okay, let her go. And our home went down. And then my mother was really pissed because she got charged for having a wreck in the river. As well as everything else.
Insult to injury.
And then, as you see, this is the way the life is. It's so mad. I love it. Then they moved it across to the other side of the river because it was in the way, where it was this sort of sunken thing. Diana Dawes came down in her boat with Dennis Hamilton, her hubby, very glamorous, and started climbing on it. And my brother and I got in our little rowing boat and said, "Oi, that's private property, you can't climb on that."
And then where did you live after that then, after your home son?
After that we had, we just kept moving at another place. By that time I was already at my drama school.
And that was Arts Ed?
That was the Arts Ed.
Uh-huh.
Arts Ed. And then I remember one of the people in the campsite place, my mother was saying, my daughter's a film star, because I had made a film and everything. And the woman said, "Well, she didn't look like a film star," because I'm in jeans, And my mother said, "Well, what do you expect? She should be in a mink coat just because she's a..."
And what would you say? Often you hear people talking about the pros and cons of going to drama school. Do you think it's something actors should 100% do, or it's good for some people?
The arts education at that time, it was the top drama school. And I still am in touch with all my friends. We still keep in touch with each other. Margaret Lockwood's daughter, Julia Lockwood, Toots, she was my friend. We still send each other birthday cards. So the bond that we had, was huge. And it was a wonderful school. It was absolutely wonderful. And we did everything. We did, because we danced and we did all the different kinds of dancing. We had brilliant teachers, one of whom was Geoffrey Baildon's wife, Mrs. Baildon. She taught us English. And we had Anthony Sharp, who was in Steptoe later on. Wonderful Anthony Sharp was one of our drama teachers. So we had, and it was such fun. So I think
you'd say that's a must-have a background.
Then, kind of crazy, we were talking about it last night. Then, and I was already working. I never stopped working. I was on telly the whole time. I did the Railway Children.
The first Railway Children.
The first Railway Children, 8 week. Then, I don't know, because everybody else was going to RADA, I thought, I should go to RADA. So I took the exam thingy, got the scholarship. I got a scholarship to go everywhere I went, because we didn't have any money, so I got a scholarship to go to the arts. Scholarship to go to RADA. I behaved so badly in the first term, they kicked me out.
I'm sure you weren't alone. I think they kicked out John Pertwee as well, is that right?
John Gielgud also got kicked out. So, I just called up my agent and went back to work.
Very good. So you never looked back?
No.
We must talk about Doctor Who.
Oh, let's talk about
We should, shouldn't we?
Yeah. It's my favourite subject.
So how did that come about, the part of Polly?
The thing was that whatever was going on, whatever was up, and they wanted a beautiful 60s Dolly Bird, I would go up, to see them. And so I went along, I think I read the script, I saw Innes, and I didn't know, I thought, that could be nice. I mean, I knew about Doctor Who, because my hubby, Michael Goff, had already done The Celestial Toymaker, so I knew it was Doctor Who. Oh, it would be nice to get this. So I went home, got on with whatever it was I was getting on with at home, and then the agent calls and says, "Well, you got that?" I went, "What?" I'm running down the street in Hurlingham Road in Fulham. I'm going to be in Doctor Who! Telling all the neighbours, yeah!
And what was the very first, do you remember what the first scenes you recorded were?
Okay. So, God, wait a minute, I get muddled because of the journey into time and space, which wasn't how it was. I'm sorry to tell you if you've disliked it. It wasn't like that. Ask William Russell, he'll tell you it wasn't like that. Anyway, so...
that first story that was the War Machines.
We filmed in Russell Square. There. We did a bit of filming. That was the first thing. You'd always do the filming first. So we filmed a bit, and we were on the side of that there with the TARDIS box and William Hartnell in his cloak, and then taxis were going by and hooting and going, Doctor Who, and I immediately knew, oh boy, I'm a part of this English, tradition. It's like a very important part of English thing.
Sure.
And so then I knew, oh my God, this is so exciting. I'm going to be a part of this.
And then your second story, The Smugglers, you've been back to the location recently, haven't you? I've seen some photos on the interweb.
Did you see it? You thought, didn't you? You thought, oh, they're going to do the Smugglers. I wish. I wish. So yeah, we went down to Manchusel Beach, and I raised a glass for Michael Craze because he loved it down there. We had such a good time because we didn't have William Hartnell. He wasn't well, and we had a look-alike, and so we could get pissed and misbehave without him telling us off.
I see. And is that what would happen? He would keep a tight rein on his show, as it were?
Yes. He was actually, there's so much about this that I love, because you go with a little magnifying glass and you have another look. When you see the Cybermen story, go on, the moon base.
10th planet.
10th planet. Go to the first one, the war machines. When they introduce, here's Polly, my secretary, if you watch it, William Hartnell gives me the eye. He looks me up and down. He goes, I never saw that before. And I didn't see him do it when I was doing it because I was too busy acting. So in the 10th planet, he's got his arm around my waist, which is not appropriate, actually. Round the shoulders is right. To have his arm round Polly's waist is something else. Interesting.
Worth taking that second look on the old DVD there.
And then I love it because I had to watch it. Why did I have to watch it? Oh, I know, because I was reading the 10th Planet for the BBC, the storybook. So I had to watch it again. And I loved it. I loved the Cyberman walking down when he goes, yes, he says, we are Cybermen. And each time I fall off my sofa, pissing with laughter.
And you mentioned there about William Hartnell not being so well in your time during the show, and him keeping an overseeing eye on things. How was that as a young actor?
Oh no, it was hard. It was tricky because here we were, the two, the companions, and here is the star of the show, and there he is, very bad-tempered, and also, as you know, racist and right-wing, and everything that Michael and I were not. We were socialist, and so that was hard. And then he's the star of the show, so you can't say, well, that's bullshit. You can't. You have to be. And we were polite. But at the same time, he was very dear. You have this dichotomy. He was very dear, and he was frail. And Mike and I looked after him. And I'd forgotten that entirely until I went on the day to see. I went on the set, you know this story, but I'll tell you anyway. The 50th, and I went down to watch the filming, and I walked in, and there's the big pink, and there's David Bradley, looking absolutely, and I didn't know because they were, and I thought they were just rehearsing. So I walked in, I went, holy shit, I said. And then there was a pause, and then there was a voice said, cut! I was so embarrassed because, because they have the very clever microphones, they were actually working. I didn't know. So, but then it was lovely, and we were watching that and everything. And then we went to have lunch, and I'm talking away to David Bradley, as you see, I'm just talking away. And we go to sit down to have the lunch, and I say, sit, darling, would you like some water? I can get you some water. He said, Anneke, I don't need you to look after me. And I said, that's what I did with Bill, and I had entirely forgotten. I looked after him because he was frail. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was a lovely memory to have.
Sure. And it's funny how these things can reawaken these different elements.
I completely forgot.
It's interesting you say that he was very dear, because of course we're all got so many different aspects to our character. So it's nice to hear that, because we hear often a lot of perhaps not so positive things about him sometimes.
I know. So he was everything. He was like a proper human being. He was everything.
Let's take us through your time in the show then. Obviously, you were there for when William Hartnell left, and then Patrick Troughton came on board.
Troughton. So I can't. The memory is, you see, what a different world, and you all know because you're all Doctor Who fans, so you know the progression. We couldn't get the information like you can now. Press a button and you know everything. So we were very much in the dark. We knew that come at the end of the summer break, we had a short summer break, when we come back we'll have a new doctor. We didn't know who it was going to be. So there was a lot of speculation going on. But Mike and I were like sort of little mushrooms in the dark. We weren't told anything, you know. So my memory is that we were all in the rehearsal room. This is my memory, and my memory, because also of being creative and a painter, it's very strong. The swing doors, I love to tell you, it was St Helens Church Hall. It had this maroon-coloured double doors. We're all in there waiting. The swing doors open, and little Patrick Troughton comes in his little red cardigan and his little Greek bag and his little face, and we all went on our feet going, yes! We were, because we knew in that instant it was the perfect person to choose, because he had this quality, and he had a quality of naivety, innocence, wickedness. He was just wonderful.
So you,
for me, instant love. Instant love.
So you were very confident that he was the perfect choice for the part, but presumably there was some trepidation as to would the public take a change of actor at all, not because of him, but just because it wasn't William Hartnell.
Yes, we didn't know. We had no idea. So it was. I mean, what an exciting time to be in it, because here you are, breaking ground, hoping, of course. You know, the thing is, bottom line as actors, you just want to be in work. You know, you're not thinking, oh, will Doctor Who go on right into 20, wherever we are now? Mm-hmm. You didn't think that. You just thought, well, especially with Mike and me, because we were very grounded, you know, it was always like, when we were doing that first story, and they had to do, they put, Pat and William on the floor and filmed them with the cheekbones and everything exactly right. And Mike's going, we should fucking hurry up because we're going to miss the pub. That was where we were at. So sorry about that, folks.
Tell us more about Michael Craze as well.
Oh, I mean, once again, heaven. What a lovely man. Absolutely. You know, it makes me cry, actually, when I think of him, because he was really salt of the earth and my bestest friend, and so loving and supportive. And when I re-met him again, when I came back to do the 30th for the first time, on a train, I met him at whatever station it is to get up to Manchester, and there he is, and I go, Mike! He said, hello, Duchess. I mean, and we were just right back. And I'm sitting on the train with him, he's saying, how are you doing? Same old story. I'd be going, oh, God, he's going, yeah. And it was as though no time had gone by.
Oh, that's lovely to
Fabulous.
hear. Lovely.
Yeah.
Now, Power of the Daleks. We've mentioned Patrick Troughton. That's his first story, of course, which has had a rebirth of late with the animation.
I know.
Tell us about, we were twofold, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, I've got a good story.
Memories at the time and now of that, having the animation.
Yes, I've got a good story about oh, no, you'll love this one. So, the Daleks, so yeah, I'll go straight to the animation. So we saw the animation, and then I had to go to the BBC and get on and chat to radio people all over England, you see. I go straight to the naughtiness of the story. And so lovely. So sitting in there with little red lights, and each person's coming on. So, Anneke, here I am, Tiddlypop in Bristol. So, this is so exciting for you, and blah, blah, blah. And so talking away about, yeah. And Mark Ayres was there and did the sound, and, and talking about how it was to see yourself in animation, which was curious, and how wonderful it was to, and they were all really nice, and they all knew their stuff. And here comes Tiddly Poppy from Newmarket or whatever. Finally, just before lunch, the bloke comes on, he goes, oh, yes, so this is Anna. So, Anneke, I said, it's Anneke, actually. He said, oh, yes. So, what is this exactly? I mean, is it like a comic? Or, and what was it? I mean, why is there so much fuss about this particular story? I said, haven't you done your homework, darling? He said, anyway, and he was asking stupid questions, and then he said, well, Anneke, so thank you for that. the buzzer went off, and I thought he was cut off, and I said, "What a fucking wanker!" And the buzzer was still on, and it went around the country. So I hope he got the sack.
He'll be a bit more prepared next time. I dare say.
If ever we do another one, it would be lovely if we did. I was hoping that they would do the Smugglers, but I don't think they will.
No. We live in hope.
It's very curious seeing yourself in animation. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you think it was good? Hands, thumbs up? You did. You did. You see, okay, to be honest, it was a bit clunky. And lovely Charlie, he was so sweet. He was a young man when he started. You know, they were very naughty because they didn't give him enough time to really, to do it really well. He was given a very short amount of time to do it. So he was very pressured. So he did his best. And when I met him then, he said, "Anneke, I'm so sorry. It was hard to make you as beautiful as you were," which was very sweet. And he said, also, you will notice it's very difficult. It's easy to make people do this. It's very difficult to make them come forward. Mm-hmm. So Toby Haydock and I sat there together watching it for the first time. And really, I mean, getting yourself out of the way. And also Mike was so much more beautiful than his animation. But to see... But the point was that Patrick's voice, that was what carried it. His voice was so melodious. It had this wonderful timbre, and that's what really drew you in, And when he said, "Polly, meet the darlings," Toby and I, who after all have seen it many, many times and downloaded, we both went, "Woo, goosebumps!" So exciting.
I must ask you about the Highlanders and Fraser Hines joining.
Yes.
But while I do that, while you answer that and talk to everyone about that, I'm going to go and grab a microphone.
You've got to go for a wee.
So ignore... No. Ignore me. I'm going to grab a microphone and take some questions. So if you wouldn't mind telling us about that.
What am I talking about?
Fraser Hines, when he joined you in the Highlanders.
Fraser Hines. Fraser Hines. I think, in a way, I've come to love Fraser more over these years that we've spent, sharing with you guys. Especially, I have to tell you, I go off on tangents. In America, I'm sitting up on stage with Fraser, me, and Peter Purvis. And Peter Purvis will go into Blue Peter lecture mode. And we are sharing a stage with him. And he's doing his... And so Fraser looks at me, and I thought, he's going to do something naughty. So he climbs over and starts snogging me. Upstaging.
On that bombshell, that sounds like a good time to take some questions from the floor. So your hand up there first, sir. Let me jump down here. These will take it.
So I thought it was fun when he joined the show, Fraser, but Mike definitely felt, he felt threatened because he thought, there wasn't enough lines to go around and stuff. So yeah, I
Sure. First question, sir.
I'm going to be a bit mean here and ask two questions. Is that okay, Anneke? Anneke, I used to call you when I was a kid. Sorry. The first one is concerning Patrick Troughton's hair. Now, I had a discussion recently on Facebook concerning Patrick Troughton wearing a wig, and someone had said that the first 3 weeks of Polypara Daleks, Patrick Troughton had worn a wig. Now, is that true? Because I'd heard you were involved in fluffing his hair up.
Good, because I'm glad you asked this, because when we did the 50th, it wasn't right, you see, and it made me so cross, because... So we're in rehearsal, and he is doing his thing, he wants to take this in whatever direction he can, and then he comes into rehearsal, he's got this ghastly, curly Harpo Marx wig, which he thinks is going to be lovely. Mike Craze says, "If you're bloody wearing that bloody wig, I'm not bloody working with you." So, and then there was much fussing, and we had a whole day to do. We had lots to do, and there was a lot of tricky thingies, and they were taking so long about it. And I said, "Oh, for God's sake!" In those days, blokes used to have top pockets and keep their combs in it. And one of the techies had this comb. I said, look, took the comb, combed Patrick's hair into the beetle thing, and said, why doesn't he just have it like that? And everybody went, yeah, okay. Patrick looked in the mirror and said, yeah, I like it. And so then, when we came to do the 50th, there was Reese Tiddlybobby. I do that because I can't remember the words. Terribly neat. And I behaved badly. I'm ashamed of it in a way, but I don't know, not really. I went leaping across the studio and I said, no, he wasn't like that. Got my hands in the hair and said, he was a mess. That was the whole point. He came tousled out of, not knowing, and that was the whole point. And it wasn't right to have him all neat and tidy. And there was a sort of stunned kind of silence on the set there of the 50th. And then the makeup woman said, well, I discussed it with Reese, and this is the way that he wanted to play it. And I said, well, he may want to play it like that, but it wasn't how it was. Anyway, they didn't. I'm struck off Mark Gatiss's Christmas list. So it wasn't a wig, it was his hair, and basically the original style was done by me.
So keeping the...
Right, Cybermen? I thought they were going to come to life all of a sudden. Start arguing with me.
So keeping with the wig theme,
Yeah.
the last Doctor Who story at Christmas was called Twice Upon a Time, and there was a doppelganger of Polly and of Ben. I just wonder what you thought of your wig, or the actress who played you in that story.
You see, I have to say, what's wrong with these wardrobe people, these makeup people? Why can't they just simply get somebody looking like we were? So that in the 50th, that poor girl, I'm sitting having, I'll come back to that one. We were sitting having lunch with David Bradley, and somebody said, have you seen the girl who's playing you, Anneke? And I turned around, this poor girl, she'd gone through wardrobe, she was so pretty, and they'd given her luscious curls and a big wonder bra. And I said, you can't, you see me, slender with long straight hair. Why can't they why do they have to put a spin on it? So poor Lily at Christmas had a sort of Thunderbird's wig. What was that about? It's not difficult just to look at a photograph. Anyway, there you go. And Jared was, I missed Mike's lovely, chirpy, cheeky Cockney, come on, doctor, wakey, and then I went off and made Christmas supper. I was watching with my son, and he said, do you want to watch? I didn't know. Who's doing the roast potatoes?
Any more questions? Any more hands? I'll come down the front here.
Anneke, hello. When you and Michael arrived in the show, it was very much a modern take on the companion. How much of the zeitgeist do you think Polly and Ben captured of the 60s? And how much of Polly was you and you were Polly? Yeah.
All of it, really. And I think that's why they in a funny way, I think I was kind of Innes kind of fancied me, really. And so he cast me, and then he said, go for it. But, so I wore all my own clothes, and I did me basically, and because Mike and I we were two 60s swinging kids, of course I was married and had children and all that as well, but all of it. And that's why, in a way, when they get it wrong, it pisses me off. It does, Can't they just, Get it right. Yeah. It's wardrobe people's ego. That's what it is. But David Bradley was wonderful. He was hauntingly good. You looked, oh, my God, it's Bill. That's why I sort of forgotten was looking after him.
Anneke, you've often said, including today, that when Patrick Troughton came into the show, it became a lot lighter and a lot easier to work. Is there anything from William Hartnell's time that was better? Not particularly Bill himself, but just that time, that era of the show that was better than when you worked with Patrick.
Ooh, long pause.
You can say no.
A long pause. Because I can only think, you know, we did it at Riverside, and then after we'd always think about the pub, and then we'd go across to the pub, and it was just everything was much more fun, you know. It was much more, well, because Bill, in a way, Bill kind of held a sort of quality of. He definitely felt, you know, I'm the star of the show, and, you know, and we all had to sort of behave, and, you know, and as soon as he left, the fun started happening, you know, and especially in the BBC bar, we would go up at lunchtime, a lot of drinking happened, we'd go up at lunchtime, Patrick would sit in the middle of the BBC bar, and he was so dynamic and so exciting to be with. Everybody in the bar would come and want to sit around our table, and he'd be talking about politics, and, you know, wonderful. He was wonderful to be around. And Bill was difficult, and, you know, and ill. It wasn't fair. And so I have to say I don't really remember nicely. Isn't that sad, really?
Thank you very much. Another question here.
Anneke, you're a regular on the convention circuit these days, but I wondered, back in 92 and 93, when you were sort of rediscovered, as it were, what were those first conventions like for you?
Just amazing, because I'd gone off, I've had quite a life, and I'd gone off and I'd eventually found myself in this little island in British Columbia, and where I was gardening and painting houses and doing my little thing, and the phone goes. I mean, really, it was... Figures, and this is Stephen James Walker of Frame magazine, and we are Doctor Who fans, and I said, get out of here, who is this? Come on, don't tease me, who is it? I thought it was a friend, you know, calling. I have to say, forgotten all about Doctor Who, really. It was not part of my life anymore. I'd been out of the country for 20 years. I didn't know you guys existed. I knew nothing about it at all. So when he said I'm a Doctor Who fan, I couldn't believe it. But then, of course, it's Stephen James Walker, and he's saying, you know, when you first came into the show, I said, oh my God, you know these things. I also was thinking, oh, these people, I don't know about you weird. I mean, now I knew I was a Star Trek fan. I better not tell them I'm a Star Trek fan. They'll lynch me, you know. But I also knew that there was a whole thing about Star Trek fans, you see. So then I thought, Doctor Who fans are probably weird. Anyway, so we had a wonderful long talk. And he had so many lovely memories that, you know, that then it sparked me off. And at the end of the chat, he said, we would love it if you would come back. And I said, you're kidding. You pay for me to go back to England? You bet, of course. So I met Michael Craze at the station, went up in the train, and he'd, of course, had done quite a few. So he was telling me all about it, and we got to the great big hotel. And so then they announced me on the stage, and I'm at the back there, and actually, now you see, because of doing these things with you guys, I'm sitting up here, I'm completely relaxed. I know you, you know, I love you all, I know you all, so we're all relaxed and it's fun. But I was shit scared. You know, and they said, oh, you know, we've been looking for her over the middle, and now we found her, and everybody stood up and they were all taking pictures, and I walked down the middle. It was like, forgive me, having an orgasm. I went, you know, this was just thrilling beyond belief. My whole body was shaking. I was frightened, I was excited, I was thrilled, you know, and climbed up on stage and started talking rubbish. And John, it was, you know, the beginning. And I want to say now, because I think it's 25 years ago, is it, from the 30th, that coming back into the fold has completely transformed my life, my older life, my old age. I'm 77, you know, and I've been up I've been to Australia and climbed the Sydney Harbour Bridge with Colin Baker. You know, I've had such fun, and the conventions have been such fun, and meeting you all, and we've had such laughs along the way that I am 100% grateful, and I want to say thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you very much, Anneke. I promised one final question at the back just here, so one last one.
Okay. Hi, Anneke. For the 30th anniversary, the BBC made a documentary where they interviewed some famous guest stars to ask what they thought about Doctor Who. And one of them was Toya Wilcox, who said that she liked the Cybermen because they were just so damn sexy. Do you agree with her?
Because in their costumes, no. But in rehearsals, well, we all know. You know, this is the other thing. What a family we all are. We're thinking about Debs, you know, when she tells the story of her, you know, little Debs and the Cyberman that she went out with, you know. Mine were mostly gay in the 10th Planet. So. And they were very difficult to work with, actually. They were very difficult to work with, but they were it was the first time. But they were difficult to work with, and it was awkward, the whole thing of the voice, and you couldn't hear the voice because that was off somewhere else, so you were reacting and so forth. But in I've gone off, but in the recent ones, I think our Cybermen were more frightening and better, because the whole point was Kit Pedler was very anxious about this whole business of the way that robotics were coming into the world. And he felt that if you took that to the furthest point, we would have, which we now have, you know, robots interacting with each other. And he thought that that would be a very dangerous place for humanity to go to. So, being the brilliant scientist that he was, he created the Cybermen. So that was and that they're coming from being human beings. So when you had those bandages and those strange open holes, you know, coming out, much more scary, I think, than these clunky ones that were all, you know, solid. I don't find them, and the funny walk, I don't find them as frightening. So I'm glad that we were there in the very beginning. Yeah, so we are Cybermen. Sachet.
It's been so lovely to talk to you. We could chat for hours, but the clock's beaten us. But we have got somebody, before you leave us, someone to introduce you to. So a round of applause, if you would, for Doctor Who brand manager, Edward Russell.
I last saw you in Upper Boat when we were filming Peter Capaldi's last episode, didn't I? And had the great pleasure to invite Anneke out. I've got an even greater pleasure right now. I've got something to give to you, Anneke. As Polly, Polly's character was loyal, brave, funny, intelligent, and beautiful. And of course, they had no problems casting you because you were already all those things anyway. But this award isn't for what you did as Polly. This is for what you've done to us as fans, because you're still loyal, brave, funny, intelligent, and you're still very beautiful. I'd like to give you this outstanding contribution to Doctor Who on behalf of the Doctor Who Appreciation.
I could stand up, didn't I?
Thank you.
Then I ran away and have.
Thank you very much, everybody.